Hey, welcome back to the podcast, the Evil Dungeon Master Universe podcast. I'm your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince. Hopefully, you're doing well today. It's Thursday as of this recording, and I want to say it's one day closer to the weekend, and hopefully, you're doing something fun. I have no game this weekend as we are spending some time with the family to do a couple things, so there's that. Anyway, I got a request from Leroy D20 on X asking if I would talk about a specific cursed item or cursed items. Now, I want to take it a step a little bit further than his request and talk about cursed items and identify in general. Because when it comes to cursed items, well, you don't know if they're cursed or not unless you actually use them and then you get cursed. So I want to go over a few things because the identify spell will identify a curse, but it will not identify it as one of the primary things as far as it's concerned. I looked high and low through the books for first edition about when it comes to identify, and if identify does clarify to the user, to the player, if the magical item is cursed or not. The majority of the answers I've seen say no. Supplemental answers I've seen are no, not as a first item of identify. It would come later on, as a cursed item will hide its nature and pretend to be something else. So when a magic user handles the weapon or whatever item it is to identify, it'll come up as such, as whatever, +1, or actually it won't even tell you pluses according to the description. It'll tell you it's a magical sword and has the following abilities, but it doesn't tell you the pluses. And only able to identify one property at a time. So, Also, there's a thing with identify that if a magic user is identifying the item and it's cursed, the magic user will suffer from said curse unless saving throw is made. So the magic user will be stuck with the cursed item. So there's one way to do it too. But we have been using, and I know me personally, have been using identify not as written. I've never used identify as raw. Probably because it's such a mess to read, and what it does to a magic user is just kind of silly. So I've always left identify up to NPCs for the most part. When players will ask to identify items, I will generally just allow them to do one specific, identify one specific thing. So cursed items, I was looking through the DMG, and there's a real easy way to find the cursed items in the DMG. And that is either they don't give you experience or they don't give you any type of gold. There's like a little dash or a little no in the book. So there is a shield missile attractor, which is a cursed shield, and it's not distinguishable from anything else. So when you get it and try to identify it, it'll come up as a magical shield, probably a +1 or something like that. The armor of missile attraction will not reveal itself until the character is fired upon in like a simple combat. Like throwing rocks and stuff won't suffice. I know some people like to do those things like throwing rocks at people or, but it has to be some type of combat situation where you're fired upon. The plate of vulnerability, this appears to every test to be a magical plate. It won't tell you what the pluses are because, according to the identify spell in the player's handbook, the item will never reveal its exact pluses to hit or its damage bonuses, although the fact that it has a few or many such pluses can be discovered. So it is a magical plus weapon, but it will not tell you if it is a +1, +2, whatever. It has pluses. That's all. You'll figure it out. Spear of Backbiter. This is to all tests magical spear. Comes up as a +1 or +2, +3. It really depends on the DM. A sword cursed -1. This all would come up to. This would be discovered as a +1 weapon, a normal plus weapon in all aspects. As in, the curse will always hide its true nature and identify as something else. Boots of Dancing, they're indistinguishable from any other magical boots until actual melee combat is engaged, and they function like any of the other types of useful boots. So it really depends. Bowl of Watery Death was pretty nasty. This device looks exactly like a bowl of commanding water elementals, right down to the color, design, and magical radiation. So, Dust of Sneeze and Choking. This fine dust appears to be either dust of appearance or dust of disappearance. So, based upon the above, just a quick look in the DMG, it does not seem as all cursed items appear as something beneficial till they are used. It seems that all cursed items will appear as beneficial until they are used, or in weapons in case are used in some type of combat situation. So I think I'm going to go over the Identify spell in the future because it's pretty in depth as far as what it can do. Yeah, I've never actually used the Identify spell as written in the book. I've always let the player cast it, and they get to know one feature of the weapon or item in their hands, and that's about it. And again, this spell here supports what I've said in the past about charges and how DMs don't have to reveal charges, or they don't generally give the exact number. Because even with the Identify spell, they'll only give you a certain amount. Like if it's 40 charges left in the wand, there's a chance that it'll give you 30 or 50 or some number in between. So you'll never know truly how many charges an item has if the DM follows that, or if the DM wants to even tell you. So there's only a certain amount of chance to do that as well. I just found these things interesting when it comes to cursed items. I like putting in items that are not going to kill you, but more so will make you act out differently. I had a dagger. I made up a dagger in one of my Palladium Fantasy games. I know it's not AD&D, but it's pretty close because the Palladium Fantasy 1E was based off of AD&D, and it generally looks just like AD&D when it comes to the game itself. But the magical dagger was a cursed dagger. It came identified or looked or felt like a magical dagger +2. When the player picked it up, or his character picked it up, he was cursed with it and became obsessed with the item to the point that it was his precious item, kind of like Golem in his ring. And the cursed item would make him hear and see different things that people were talking to him. So if one of these other characters would say to him, "Hey, what is that dagger you got there?" He heard, "I want that magical dagger. You don't deserve it." Or something like the fact that he would run away if anyone tried to touch the dagger. If anyone tried to see the dagger, he would be, "No, no, no, it's my dagger." So I had like an obsession thing with it, and the player did a wonderful job. Once I told him on the side what the actual situation was of his cursed item, he rolled with it very well. And there was a whole scene where he was running away from the party, and they had to try to catch him because he was running away from them. He's like, "No, you can't have my dagger." So as long as you do things like that, it's fun. I don't like doing cursed items that'll kill people instantly. Things that are stuck to your hand and you have -1, yeah, that's fine because you got to do a remove curse. Uh, but if you have a cleric in the party, you don't have to worry. I guess, right? But yeah, we'll have to go over the Identify spell. Maybe I'll do the YouTube video on that one just to talk about it as opposed to a podcast. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless. Don't forget theevildm.com is my website. Ask the DM at theevildm.com is my email address. You can hit me up on X for @theevildm or facebook.com/theevildungeonmaster if you want to leave a comment. Keep those AD&D fires lit. Good night, everybody.